From cosmic gods to street-level psychopaths, these are the moments where supervillains became unstoppable forces and made us actually root for the bad guy. Let's count them down. Antje Traua's Faura Ul is peak Kryptonian warrior, and her absolute demolition of US military forces in Smallville is one of the most brutal superhero movie beatdowns ever filmed. Unlike Clark Kent, who's spent his life holding back, Faura has trained for combat her entire life and has zero moral restraints about killing humans. The sequence where Faura moves through soldiers like they're not even there is genuinely frightening. She's got super speed, super strength, and military training that makes her basically unstoppable. The way she casually breaks necks, throws soldiers through buildings, and flexes shows a villain who's not just powerful but enjoys the dominance. What makes this a legendary one-woman army moment is the sheer efficiency. Faura isn't struggling or being challenged, she's hunting. Even later when Colonel Hardy tries to stop her with a knife, her response is so nonchalant that it shows her Kryptonian superiority complex in action. Zack Snyder shoots this with his typical flair for slow-motion violence, making every strike feel impactful, even though it's a short moment before Kal-El arrives. Faura proves that Superman holding back is the only reason humanity survives encounters with Kryptonians.
A good death has its own reward.
With the arrival of Galactus in Fantastic Four, First Steps, Marvel is finally doing the Devourer of Worlds justice. This isn't a cloud. This is a cosmic entity the size of a planet who's consumed thousands of worlds, and the Fantastic Four have to somehow stop him. What makes Galactus the ultimate one-man army is the scale. He doesn't have soldiers or schemes. He simply arrives at a planet and begins the process of consuming it to satisfy his cosmic hunger. He looks genuinely terrifying as a force of nature more than a traditional villain. His whole battle against the titular heroes was just him, mostly chilling and dominating, till the final few moments where he eventually gets bested. The idea that the Fantastic Four, Earth's greatest heroes, have to face something that operates on a cosmic scale beyond human comprehension is what makes Galactus special. He's not evil in a traditional sense, he's survival incarnate, an elemental force that predates most of the universe. I mean, the Fantastic Four had to think their way out of a fight they absolutely could not win through force. That's what makes Galactus the ultimate threat. He's a one-entity army who's already won before he arrives. Michael Fassbender's young Eric Lehnsherr might not be traditional superheroics, but watching him execute those stupid soldiers did have an odd sense of redemption. Of course, we can't really say much about that, considering he's lost his wife and daughter in the process, but what he does after is so cold and badass that you have to praise the sequence for what it is. Using his little daughter's locket as his weapon of choice was brutal and tragic at the same time, which is why he's such a great character. What makes this sequence so powerful is the combination of Eric's emerging powers and his calculated rage. He's not losing control, he's completely in control, which makes it more terrifying. The way he uses his magnetism to move the locket through everyone showcases skill and precision on a whole other level. Fassbender's performance sells the outburst perfectly. This isn't a hero's journey, it's watching someone choose darkness, because the world showed him only darkness. When he finally ends everyone around him, he's left with two lifeless bodies and his only audience is God himself. It's freaking depressing if you think about it, but such is his life.
Is this what you want from me?
Right now!
Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch attacking Kamartaj and going through sorcerers like a supernatural force of nature is both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Wanda takes on literally hundreds of trained sorcerers and wins. Yay, she doesn't just win, she dominates. She's reflecting spells, crushing sorcerers, bringing down buildings, and doing all of this while hunting for America Chavez like a slasher villain. Sam Raimi brought his horror directing expertise to the sequence, and it shows in the best way possible. The way Wanda walks through magical barriers, spooks the living daylights out of those sorcerers, and just keeps coming shows someone who's operating on a completely different power level. When she actually gets serious, it adds another layer of psychological horror. What makes this such a powerful one-woman army moment is the sheer scale of destruction and the feeling of inevitability. You watch this and realize nobody can stop her. Not armies of sorcerers, not ancient magic, nothing. Wong trying to mount a defense and watching his forces get annihilated shows the hopelessness of fighting the Scarlet Witch. The scene where she emerges from the smoke, covered in debris but unharmed, walking toward her goal with absolute determination is nightmare fuel. It's the dark side of what these moments can represent, showing that unlimited power in the hands of someone willing to use it makes them virtually unstoppable. Ciarán Hinds' Steppenwolf, attacking Themyscira and fighting through the entire Amazon army to steal a mother box, is the epic Snyder Cut Unleashed. This isn't the theatrical version's brief skirmish. This is an extended battle sequence showing why Steppenwolf conquered thousands of worlds for Darkseid. The Amazons are warriors who've trained for millennia, and Steppenwolf tears through them like they're nothing. His electro-axe cuts through shields, his armor deflects arrows, and his sheer strength overpowers even the strongest Amazons. The sequence where the Amazons try to escape with the mother box using horses, ropes, and ultimately sacrifice to slow Steppenwolf down shows how desperate they are against this threat. What makes this a true one-man army moment is the context. Steppenwolf is doing this alone, without the Parademon's backup initially, just him versus an entire island of legendary warriors. The scene where he best even Hippolyta is showing not just strength, but reflexes beyond anything the Amazons can match. It establishes him as a cosmic level threat. Snyder shoots this with his typical slow motion glory, making every clash feel epic. The fact that the Amazons' best efforts only delay him, don't stop him, proves Steppenwolf earned his reputation as Darkseid's general through countless battles just like this one.
Why are you laughing?
I can't send you home unless you get this thing off my head. And as soon as you do that, I'm going to boil your brains on an atomic level whilst flicking my bean to the Enya box set.
Emma Corrin's Cassandra Nova is the standout villain of Deadpool and Wolverine, and her absolute dominance over the Void is a masterclass in villain power. Charles Xavier's evil twin sister has psychic abilities that rival his own, and she's been using them to rule a wasteland dimension like a twisted queen. The sequence where Cassandra casually battles Wolverine for the longest time, after which she dabbles with Deadpool 2, was an interesting one to watch. In addition to this, what makes Cassandra's one-woman army status undeniable, though, is the final confrontation with our two lead heroes. She's simultaneously fighting them in a mental sense, using the Time Ripper, manipulating reality, and playing psychological games. Emma Corrin brings a theatrical menace to the role that makes every scene she's in electric. I mean, it took Wade Wilson and Logan all of their healing powers and abs to get the job done against her. That's power.
My boy's wicked strong! That's my big boy! Yes, you are!
Harrison Ford becoming Red Hulk and trashing the White House is exactly the kind of unhinged superhero movie moment we needed. President Thaddeus Ross losing control and going full gamma rage monster on the nation's most iconic building is both terrifying and absolutely spectacular. The transformation sequence is genuinely frightening. We've seen Hulk transformations before, but this one feels different because it's the president, because it's in the White House, because the destruction is so symbolic. Red Hulk doesn't have Bruce Banner's intelligence or control, so he's just pure rage and military aggression made flesh. The way he tears through security, demolishes the Oval Office, and makes the entire building a war zone shows what unchecked power looks like. Then, of course, there's the main fight against Sam Wilson. What elevates this is Harrison Ford's commitment. The man is in his 80s doing motion capture work for a giant red rage monster, and he's selling it completely. The image of Red Hulk standing in the ruins of American democracy is visually stunning and thematically heavy. This is a one-man army moment that doubles as political commentary, showing what happens when the person with the most power loses control.
Come and get me!
Okay, this one's going to be a tricky one because Venom is technically an anti-hero in his new movies. However, he's always been a villain, right from the comics. So in essence, he does qualify for my made-up rules on this list. Anyway, absorbing all the xenophages wasn't just a flex, it was a stamp of dominance. Our favorite symbiote was able to take the full force of monsters that were specifically designed to take his kind down. That's crazy work, because all of us were thinking this was the end for our boy. The final form he obtained before ending it all with the acid also looked pretty cool. Imagine how badass he would be in a battle. Like, this form of Venom would have been the literal representation of a one-man army, and probably could have landed on a much higher spot on today's list.
Everybody duck!
Jason Lee's buddy Pine, aka Syndrome, might technically be using a robot, but his orchestration of the Omnidroid attack on the city shows a supervillain at peak one-man army status. Syndrome's plan to become a hero by creating and defeating threats makes him both genius and psychopath. The sequence where the Omnidroid attacks the city, destroying buildings and military forces while Syndrome plays hero, is superhero deconstruction at its finest. The robot is designed to be unstoppable.
Go!
Learning from every attack, adapting to every strategy. Syndrome created the perfect weapon and put it in a population center to prove a point about heroism. What makes this truly villainous is Syndrome's motivation. He's not trying to take over the world, he's trying to prove that heroes aren't special. His plan to sell his technology so everyone can be super, which means no one will be, is twisted egalitarianism. The moment where he loses control of his own creation and has to be saved by the family he tried to kill is perfect irony. Brad Bird created a villain whose one-man army approach is creating armies for others, making Syndrome paradoxically both solo operator and mass producer of threats. So yeah, this one's more of a no-brainer for today's list.
No, I'm a new superhero. I'm Syndrome! All right, stand back.
Alright, we can't go on with such a list without the OG Marvel villain. The Green Goblin is a peak villain, mostly thanks to a peak actor. And we can't stop thinking about his first proper attack in the first ever Spidey flick. Now, I know Spider-Man arrives to fight him in the second half of the fight, but right before that, the Goblin was wreaking all kinds of havoc. The effects may seem a bit odd considering how easy it is to spot the differences in today's era. But back in 2002, this was all the rage. The Green Goblin made sure to get his revenge against the evil board that kicked him out of his own company, so I suppose we can let that slide. After all, we got a crazy meme out of it too. But yes, considering the amount of damage he dealt right from the get-go, this is easily a one-man army moment. Hey look, we've got yet another OG Spidey entry. Before the train battle, Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus has a smaller but infinitely more terrifying one-man army moment.
This first thing should be at the bottom of the river.
Waking up on an operating table and slaughtering an entire surgical team. This is Sam Raimi, directing a horror movie inside a superhero film, and it's absolutely chilling. The sequence where Otto's mechanical arms wake up before he does, moving with predatory intelligence, is pure nightmare fuel. Raimi shoots this from the arms' perspective, from the Doctor's terrified viewpoints, building dread with every movement. When the arms start acting by themselves, killing doctors with surgical precision and brutal efficiency, it establishes the AI has taken over, and Otto is no longer fully in control. What makes this so effective is the intimacy and horror of it. These are medical professionals trying to help, and they're being murdered by a patient's out-of-control experiment. The famous shot of the arm rising behind the Doctor, silhouetted against the wall like a cobra about to strike, is iconic horror imagery. When Otto finally wakes up and escapes through the wall, leaving a room full of bodies, we understand the tragic monster he's become. The arms don't need Otto's permission to kill, which makes every subsequent scene more terrifying, because we know he's struggling against his own technology. Cate Blanchett's Hela returning to Asgard and single-handedly slaughtering the entire military of the kingdom is one of the most one-sided battles in MCU history. The goddess of death doesn't negotiate, doesn't posture. She just starts killing, and nobody can stop her. The sequence where Hela walks through Asgardian forces, summoning infinite blades from thin air, impaling soldiers by the dozens, destroying their weapons with casual gestures, is peak villain dominance. I mean, if we look at the way she caught Mjolnir and crushed it like it's made of glass, had immediately established her as a threat beyond anything Thor's faced. So, when the Asgardian military charges her on the Rainbow Bridge, she doesn't retreat or take cover. She walks toward them, and they all die. What makes Hela's massacre so effective is Blanchett's performance. She plays Hela as someone who's bored by how easy this is, who's been trapped for centuries and is now finally getting to stretch. The moment where she kills the Warriors 3 without breaking stride shows how thoroughly outclassed everyone is. Hela is a one-woman army in the truest sense. She conquers an entire realm by herself, and nobody even slows her down until Thor's final gambit.
Go back to whatever cave you crept out of. You evil demoness.
Let's go see my palace.
Yes, there are no surprises for guessing this one. Big Daddy Thanos changed the game in Infinity War right after Thor had already turned the tide against the Chitauri army in Wakanda. Of course, we're only looking at villains here, so Thanos easily makes it to number 13. What makes this opening so powerful is how efficiently Thanos operates. He's not struggling, not surprised, just methodically achieving his goals while some of the Avengers' strongest members can't even slow him down. The way he handles the Hulkbuster, countering his rage with a simple technique, pretty much shows why Thanos is the ultimate threat. Some of the ways he used to dismiss the other Avengers were pretty badass, but at the same time, I'd say they were the ultimate form of disrespect. And let's not forget, prior to this, Thanos takes on Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and nearly loses, but still wins through sheer determination. The Titan battle showcases why Thanos doesn't need his army. He's a tactical genius with cosmic-level strength who's conquered thousands of worlds. The moment where he destroys Tony's armor piece by piece while complementing his will is villainous perfection. Thanos is a one-man army who's earned that status through countless battles. We mentioned it earlier, and here it is in all its glory. Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus fighting Spider-Man on a moving train while also trying to kill him by sending the train out of control is Sam Raimi directing at peak superhero cinema. Doc Ock's 4 mechanical arms make him a one-man army of destruction, attacking from multiple angles while defending from others. The sequence showcases Otto Octavius at his most dangerous. He's using his arms to fight Spider-Man, destroy the train's controls, and tear up the tracks, all while maintaining this cruel scientific curiosity about whether Peter can actually stop the train. The choreography is stunning, with Doc Ock moving through the train like a spider himself, his arms giving him mobility and power that make him nearly unstoppable. And yes, by shoving all the civilians aside, he does establish himself as the lone fighter. What makes this iconic is how Doc Ock pretty much wins and only misses out on domination. Spider-Man has to push himself beyond his limits to stop the train, nearly killing himself in the process. Doc Ock's one-man army approach, using superior position and technological advantage, demonstrates why he's one of Spider-Man's greatest villains. Molina plays Otto with this tragic intellect, a man who's brilliant enough to nearly defeat Spider-Man while completely consumed by his technology. Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch hunting America Chavez through the multiverse leads to one of the most shocking sequences in MCU history: Wanda systematically murdering the Illuminati. This isn't a fight, it's an execution spree where Earth's mightiest heroes are treated like minor obstacles, even though they're just looked at as jokes now. The way Wanda kills Black Bolt by removing his mouth, turns Mr. Fantastic into spaghetti, cuts Captain Carter in half with her own shield, and crushes Captain Marvel with a statue shows a villain operating at power levels the heroes can't comprehend. She's not struggling, not threatened, just efficiently eliminating targets. The "what mouth" line before Black Bolt dies is cold-blooded villainy. What makes this the ultimate one-woman army moment is the complete power differential. The Illuminati should be among the most powerful beings in their universe. And Wanda kills them all in under 2 minutes. Olsen's performance captures a mother's desperation twisted into monstrous action. The Scarlet Witch doesn't need an army when she can rewrite reality itself. And this scene proves it. It's horrifying, spectacular, and shows why Wanda is the MCU's most dangerous villain when she chooses to be. Michael Fassbender's Magneto lifting an entire baseball stadium and flying it to use as a siege weapon is peak mutant power flex. Eric Lensher doesn't need subtle when he can reshape the world with his mind. The sequence where Magneto rips the stadium from its foundations, flies it across Washington, D.C., and drops it around the freaking White House like the world's most destructive cage shows power on a scale few villains can match. The X-Men and the military can only watch as Magneto literally changes the landscape, making the nation's capital his personal chessboard. What makes this truly terrifying is Magneto's intent. He's not just making a statement, he's positioning Sentinels to kill everyone at that peace summit while demonstrating mutant superiority. The image of Magneto floating above the White House, metal bending to his will, is iconic villain imagery. Fassbender and McKellen both play Eric as someone whose one-man army status comes from experience and conviction. However, unlike the OG sequence, this one establishes a threat that goes well beyond a simple flex. He's done this before and he'll do it again, because stopping him requires stopping all metal, and that's basically impossible.
Make your moves, Reindeer Games.
Tom Hiddleston's Loki making a crowd of Germans kneel before him in Stuttgart is theatrical villainy at its finest. The god of mischief doesn't just attack, he puts on a show, demonstrating his superiority over humanity with style and viciousness. The scene where Loki forces everyone to kneel declares, "Is not this simpler? Is this not your natural state?" and prepares to execute an old man who refuses, shows a villain drunk on power. When Captain America arrives and they fight, Loki is playing, testing this champion of Earth. The arrival of Iron Man barely phases him, because Loki genuinely believes he's operating on a different level than these mortals. What makes this a classic one-man army moment is how thoroughly Loki dominates until the Avengers arrive in force. He's taken hostages, caused chaos, and established himself as a major threat all by himself before his army even arrives through the portal. Hiddleston plays Loki with this perfect blend of menace and charm that makes you almost want him to succeed. The fact that he does all this with a smile shows why Loki became the MCU's most beloved villain.
Let him be an example.
Okay, this one is only a few seconds long, but it's such a classic moment that I had to include it. Kevin Bacon's Sebastian Shaw attacking the CIA facility where Charles and Eric are training young mutants is the moment X-Men First Class shows the real stakes of its conflict. Shaw doesn't negotiate, doesn't posture, he just starts killing and destroying to prove mutant superiority. The sequence showcases Shaw's terrifying power set. He absorbs all energy directed at him and redirects it. Bullets make him stronger, explosions fuel him, and he uses that absorbed energy to kill with casual touches. Watching him walk through the facility, killing CIA agents with energy blasts while his Hellfire Club teammates handled the others, and the young X-Men, shows a villain completely confident in his invincibility. What makes this a definitive one-man army moment is how thoroughly outmatched everyone is. The CIA's weapons are useless, actually making Shaw stronger. The young mutants can barely slow him down. When he kills Darwin by forcing energy down his throat, making him explode from the inside, it's shocking and brutal. Shaw establishes himself as the ultimate threat, a villain who becomes more powerful the harder you fight him. Kevin Bacon plays Shaw with smooth menace, treating the massacre as an educational opportunity to show Charles and Eric that humans will always fear and hate mutants. The attack radicalizes Eric and plants seeds of doubt in Charles, showing how one villain's actions can reshape history. Honestly, this movie was supposed to revolve around another fight, but when the final boss is Doomsday, you can forget about any other rivalries. If anyone knows who Doomsday is, they don't even need an explanation as to why he alone is a lot stronger and more dangerous than any army out there. Just look at this sequence as an example. The dude is up against freaking Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, and he still only lost because the Man of Steel had to sacrifice himself. Sure, Batman is mostly just trying his level best to stay alive here. But even so, Doomsday is fighting two of the most powerful beings in this universe. Plus, how can I not include freaking Superman and Wonder Woman up against a foe that can somehow solo the both of them together? It's pretty much what was happening too, until Kal-El decided to do what Warner Bros. Did to Henry Cavill later on. That has gotta count for a lot, which is mainly why we've kept him at an entry as high as number 7.
Желание. Ржавой.
Stop.
12.
Daniel Bruhl's Helmut Zemo is a different kind of one-man army. He doesn't have powers or technology, just intelligence, patience, and a plan to destroy the Avengers from within. The fact that he succeeds makes him one of the MCU's most effective villains. Honestly, I'd say that he's the most successful MCU villain, because at least he achieved what he wanted and didn't regret it. Only Thanos came close, but even he had to destroy the stones eventually. Anyway, Zemo's interrogation of the Hydra agent, his framing of the Winter Soldier, his manipulation of Tony Stark's emotions, all of it it builds to the revelation that Bucky killed Tony's parents. The bunker scene where Zemo shows Tony the video and watches as the two main Avengers tear themselves apart is villainy through proxy. Zemo didn't throw a single punch, but he hurt Tony and Steve more than the Mad Titan ever did. What makes Zemo's one-man army status undeniable is the scope of his victory. He turned the world's mightiest heroes against each other, broke up the Avengers, and got away with it. The scene where he tries to end it all, satisfied with his revenge, only for Black Panther to stop him, shows someone who achieved his goal despite having no powers. Brule plays Zemo as patiently methodical, showing that sometimes the most dangerous villain is the one willing to take his time and strike at the heart rather than the head.
Stop.
Разведь!
Thanos from 2014 arriving at the final battle and immediately showcasing why he was able to conquer the universe without any Infinity Stones is terrifying. Armed with just his sword and armor, Thanos takes on the big three of the Avengers and dominates. Yes, we know that's quite hard to believe if it's someone who hasn't seen the movies. The sequence where Thanos fights Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor simultaneously shows his true skill. He breaks Cap's shield, overpowers Thor, and nearly kills Tony, all without breaking a sweat. This is Thanos at his physical peak, before he got the stones, showing that he earned his reputation through combat prowess and a lot of flawed power scaling thanks to the writers. When he fights worthy Cap with Mjolnir, actually taking damage but still winning, it shows a villain worthy of respect and dominance. What makes this the ultimate one-man army moment is the context. This is the Avengers' last stand, their final desperate attempt to save the universe, and Thanos is beating them easily. When he calls down his army, it's almost insulting because he's already won the fight. The only thing that stops him is the full might of Earth's heroes and Tony's sacrifice. Josh Brolin's motion capture performance makes Thanos feel inevitable, a force of nature that can't be stopped, only delayed.
That's not my name. I had that.
Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique infiltrating Bolivar Trask's peace conference in Paris and nearly assassinating him while surrounded by world leaders, diplomats, and security is spy thriller excellence with a mutant twist. Raven Darkholme doesn't need an army when she can be anyone, anywhere, at any time. The sequence showcases Mystique's abilities at their finest. She's shapeshifted through multiple identities to get close to Trask, navigating security, deceiving everyone around her, all while carrying a concealed weapon and a burning desire for revenge. The way she shifts between forms, using each identity's access to get closer to her target, shows tactical brilliance combined with her natural powers. What makes this moment so tense is how close she comes to succeeding. Mystique has Trask at gunpoint in front of the world's press, and only the intervention of the X-Men stops her from pulling the trigger. The scene works because Lawrence plays Raven as someone who's been pushed too far, whose personal mission to save mutant kind has twisted into something darker. When she's finally revealed in her blue form, standing among humans with a gun, it becomes the photograph that changes history. One woman, one moment, reshaping the entire future. That's a one-person army impact that ripples through time itself.
Raven.
Heath Ledger's Joker testing Gotham's soul with the fairy experiment represents the ultimate one-man army moment because he's weaponizing psychology and sociology. The Clown Prince isn't beating people with fists or firepower, he's forcing them to face their own darkness, and that's infinitely more terrifying. And this is the kind of game he loves to play the most as well. The fairy sequence where the Joker gives both a ship of citizens and a ship of prisoners the trigger to blow up the other boat is moral philosophy as superhero spectacle. Everyone on both boats is paralyzed by the choice, by the weight of potentially killing hundreds of people to save themselves. The Joker orchestrated this entire scenario alone from a prison cell because he understands humanity's capacity for evil better than anyone. What elevates this to the number 3 spot is the philosophical weight behind it. The Joker isn't trying to take over the world or get rich or get revenge. He's trying to prove a point about human nature, about how chaos lurks beneath civilization's thin veneer. The fact that Gotham's citizens prove him wrong, choosing not to kill each other, doesn't diminish the Joker's power. He forced an entire city to confront its mortality and morality. Ledger's performance throughout the film, but especially in orchestrating and watching the social experiment, defines cinematic villainy. The Joker is a one-man army who doesn't need physical strength when he can weaponize fear, doubt, and moral ambiguity. From the bank heist to the hospital explosion to the ferry experiment, the Joker operates alone, creates chaos alone, and nearly wins alone. Batman stops him physically, but the Joker's victory is making everyone question their own goodness. That's the ultimate villain flex, and it's why this moment is so high up on the list.
I came back to stop you.
Tom Hardy's Bane, systematically dismantling Gotham's infrastructure, breaking Batman, and holding an entire city hostage for months is one of cinema's most complete villain victories. Bane doesn't just fight his enemies, he crushes them physically and psychologically. Yes, he has an army of his own, but he does command it, and the whole thing is his plan, so it qualifies. The sewer fight where Bane breaks Batman's back is brutal and methodical. Hardy's performance, working only with his eyes and physical presence due to the mask, creates a villain who's terrifying through pure presence. The way he counters every one of Batman's attacks, beating him in his own city, in his own darkness, while delivering the "I was born in it, molded by it" speech, is iconic. When he leaves Bruce in the pit to watch Gotham burn on television, it's the ultimate domination. But this was just the start of many other acts that established him as a worthy successor to the Joker. What makes Bane's one-man army status undeniable is the Gotham takeover. He orchestrates a stock market heist, bankrupts Wayne Enterprises, traps the entire police force underground, blows up the bridges, and holds the city hostage with a nuclear bomb, all while ruling from the shadows. The scene where he reveals Ra's al Ghul's plan was always to destroy Gotham and breaks the strong over his knee, both literally and figuratively, showcases a villain who spent months winning every battle. Bane's reign only ends through Batman's return and sacrifice, proving he was the most dominant villain Gotham ever faced.
We take Gotham from the corrupt, the rich,
The moment every Star Wars fan had been waiting decades for, Darth Vader unleashed at full power, slaughtering rebel soldiers in a hallway while hunting the Death Star plans. This scene, coming at the end of Rogue One, shows why Vader is the most feared being in the galaxy. The sequence is shot like a horror movie. The hallway goes dark, then Vader's lightsaber ignites, casting red light on panicked rebels. He doesn't hurry, doesn't struggle, just methodically cuts through soldiers while using the Force to pin them to ceilings, deflect blaster fire, and rip weapons from hands. The soldiers are desperately trying to pass the plans through the door while Vader eliminates them one by one. What makes this the third greatest villain one-man army moment in superhero cinema is how it recontextualizes everything. For generations, fans knew Vader was powerful, but had never seen him cut loose. This scene shows why stormtroopers fear him, why rebels run, why the Empire built its reputation on his legend. The desperation in the rebels' eyes as they realize they can't stop him, that they're just buying seconds for the plans to escape, adds emotional weight. When the door closes and we know those plans are headed to Leia, leading directly into a new hope. It connects the entire saga through this moment of pure villainy. Vader is unstoppable, inevitable, and terrifying, and this hallway proves it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Drop your favorite villain moment in the comments, and remember, every hero is only as good as their villain allows them to be.